Hello. Okay, I think you should be able to hear me now. Okay, so let me just restart that up again. For some reason, I could not unmute that. Let me just try that again. Yep, okay, so that works now. For some reason, that unmute was not working. Okay. All right, then. So I hope everyone is having a good week. I hope everyone has had a good weekend. We are on the second part of the training. We started the intermediate today. So today we've got 3 modules for you today. I would like to introduce myself first. I'm Nicholas. I'm the 3.6 technical trainer, working from home again. Hope everyone is having. Sorry, just gotta get my biscuits out of there. Not really something that you'd want to see in the background. Eduardo, no, this webinar will be in English. This is not a Spanish webinar. Okay, let me just actually make sure that that was what he actually asked, because I did assume that was what he asked. So we do have webinars in Spanish, Eduardo. If you look on our webpage, you should be able to see them. So if you go to 3cx.es, you should be able to see them, and and you should be able to register for these Spanish webinars. Let me just go and have a look and see when they are registered for. So let's go to the webinars page. Now, if you see on the flags on the top where it is English, if you see the English ones, just click on the flag at the top and choose Spanish as the language. And basic part 1 is on the 6th of May. Okay, so the 6th of May will be when we start the Spanish webinars, and that will be my colleague Alejandro from Argentina doing that. Okay, so I think we should be able to get started now. So I would like to welcome you all. Today we have 3 modules. We have the PBX Express using personal account first, then we will follow by a very important module, backup and restore, and then we will finish off today with the recordings. So we should be taking up most of the 2 hours. I don't think we should take up the entire 2 hours. So bit of a surprise for you guys. The webinar that we are doing now, this module, the PBX Express, is updated for update 5. It's not updated on the Academy just yet, but you do get a sneak preview. Okay, we were going to cover the material anyway, but we have just tweaked the module just a little bit. I think I just talked to myself there with Eduardo. Evangelos, yes, we have released a bit of an update on the web meeting that was released today. We will be putting that out to the rest of the portals. This is just basically on the 3CX webinar and the production webinar that we have. We basically did a few tests and we saw that we could improve on the layout just a bit. Okay. Now it is only one person, but if you have multiple people, you should be able to do that. Eduardo, can you hear me? Can Eduardo hear me? Because he's still asking about the webinars in Spanish, and I don't think he's hearing me. Okay, I don't think Eduardo, you might need to just give me a second. Okay, I'm just waiting to see, because I do really want to, because he says there's no way. Eduardo, can you hear me now? No, no. Yes, you can see me. Eduardo, we do have, I don't know, can you hear me as well? Listen, we do have Spanish webinars on our website. So just go to our website, 3cx.es. You should be able to register for the Spanish ones as well under Learn, webinars and events. So you should be able to register for these Spanish ones. They do start on the 6th of May. Okay. Alrighty then. So, guys, Now, listen, you can ask questions if you need to. I would please request that you do keep the chat open for only questions, and please keep the questions on topic. So we're going to get started with the PBX Express. We are a bit delayed. We're delayed by about a minute to get started. So PBX Express, personal account. Now, last week we saw the installation of 3CX in a local environment. Okay, so yes, Brian, it is a personal account on the cloud. So we also provide the hosting as well. So 3CX does provide hosting as a trial for a few months. But now we're going to see how you can go and put the PBX in the cloud using your own hosting account. So you need to have an account with Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and so on. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at now. We are going to go and deploy in the cloud with our own account, not with the 3CX account. Okay. Right. So PBX Express is an online tool that we have that allows you to set up the PBX very easily in 10 minutes. Okay, the maximum of 10 minutes. It is in the cloud, and it is just literally a matter of minutes. It is even easier than doing an on-premise PC. Now, when you set up on-premise, one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to go and get a machine, right? You're going to get a machine, you're going to unbox it, you're going to get it, and you're going to set it up. Okay, so you need an operating system, you need to put the memory in, you need to put the hard drive on this, you need to put a little SSD in it, power it up and everything, get the operating system on, and then install the PBX. Especially if you are doing Windows, that will take a lot of time. Now, with PBX Express, we create the VM. We install the operating system, and we install the PBX and configure it. So within 10 minutes, it's ready to use. Okay. Now, it is accessible from pbxexpress.3cx.com. That is an online wizard that you will see. The first thing that will be asked for you is a license key. Like we said last week as well, you cannot install 3CX without a license. You need to have a license to install 3CX. Now, you put the license key in there, or if you don't have a license key, you can go and create a new one by clicking that big blue button there. Okay. We can also access this from within our customer or partner portal. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go to my customer portal. I'm going to see my license key. Next to the license key, there is a button that says deploy, and this will allow me to go straight away into the PBX Express wizard and start the configuration. If it is a first-time registration of a key, it will ask you for the registrant's details. My key has been activated quite a few hundred times, so I don't think it will ask me for this. We will only ask for information that we do not have. Okay, so the PBX Express wizard sees that this is not registered yet. It will ask for the registration details. Moving on, the locale, time zone, and prompt language. Now, generally, PBX Express will detect which country you're in based on the IP address that you are doing the setup from. So today, ultimately, we should detect the country being Cyprus. We should detect the time zone being +2. And it will ask us to select the prompt language. I will be selecting Australian English today. Next, we come to the FQDN. 3CX provides a free FQDN and SSL certificate for every PBX it deploys. So we will be asked to enter the host name. That's the company name, for example. And then you select the suffix, a 3CX suffix, all around the world. So we have gone on a bit of a shopping spree. We have given the credit card to our IT guys and told them, buy domains. Okay, so there is a wide selection for you to choose from. Now, it is on a first-come, first-served basis. So if your FQDN is already taken, you can either select another host name or another suffix. Laureano, yes, you can use your license key from the on-premise. We will be talking about that in the backups. You can go from an on-premise, not just the license key, but you can get the configuration as well. So you can take a backup of your existing PBX on-premise and bring it into the cloud, or vice versa, and even between operating systems as well. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes when we do the backup and restore. That's the next module after this one. Okay, so Adi, yes, you can. You can use PBX Express to move 3CX from Google to AWS. You will need to take a backup. We're going to talk about the restoring afterwards. So you have a backup and then you restore it into the cloud. We will be coming to the backing up and restoring of, because that is the second configuration that you have here. Okay, so this is a new PBX, but we also have to restore 3CX in the cloud. So if you have an existing backup, wherever it is, you can restore it. Okay. Booker, yes, it was. The beginning, the basic was last week. Today we started the intermediate. The basic was done last week on Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, so let's move on. Oops, there. Yep. Okay. Now, again, like we saw last week during the installation, we have the extension digit length, selecting how many digits your PBX will have. Please choose it very carefully. Like I said last week, for the same reason, you cannot change this afterwards. Okay. Avoid using 2 digits. I'll put an exclamation mark there as well. Just go to 3 digits, 4 digits, and 5 digits as a preference. Okay. Depending on what you need, how many extensions you're going to have, how many extensions your customer will need to have for growth, and so on. Okay. But also take into consideration that queues, ring groups, digital receptionists also use extension numbers. Now, when you are deploying with PBX Express, you will be deploying to a hosting provider. We do support a range of providers out of the box. Amazon is one of them with AWS infrastructure or Lightsail. You can go to Google with Google Cloud. That is what we will be demonstrating today. Microsoft's Azure platform plus OVH, but you can use any hosting provider that supports OpenStack version 2 and above. Okay, so if you are using an OpenStack provider or you are an OpenStack provider yourself, you will be able to deploy using PBX Express. If your provider is not OpenStack compliant, you can still install 3CX, just not using PBX Express. Okay, PBX Express is just a link that is OpenStack compliant. But if you are using any other provider other than the ones we have available out of the box, you will need to enter the API details in manually. Okay, not too difficult to do, and we have guides available through the wizard as well. Now, if you are deploying to Amazon, Google, whichever provider, you do not create the VPS beforehand. We do this during the wizard. Okay, so all you need to do is select your region, choose a region which is close to you for latency reasons, obviously, and select your machine type. The specs are based on the size of the installation. Do a search on our website, 3CX hardware specs, and that will give you the specs that you require. Now, down the bottom, you will see the cloud hosting recommendations as well for the minimums. They are minimums, okay? So please go for a minimum and always go above, okay? So choose these specs, choose the sizing, be very careful. It can get quite expensive as you go higher and higher up the rank. AJ, I just said that based on the installation size. We do have the recommendations on the guide. RTFM, mate. All right, let me just see if I can find that guide for you. I'm just going to do a nice little quick Google search, 3CX hardware specs. Guys, you got to learn how to do Google, huh? We are 100% fully Google indexed, 100%. Okay, just going to do, it's the first link there as well. So just going to do a copy and paste. Okay, down the bottom, you will see the recommendations for the hardware specs. Okay, so even for the hosting providers, you will see which type of machine we recommend. Okay, but they are minimums. Don't just stick to those. Go above. Okay, right. After that, you have put all the information in. You just sit back, relax, and count down from 10 minutes. Okay. Now, today, I estimate that at about 6.5 minutes, 7 maximum, we should be finished. So, once the installation starts, you just sit back, relax, go on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever social media you like to use. Open a newspaper if you are old school. Start reading and just wait for it to finish. Okay. Now, a lot of people do say that 3CX is easy to use. That is true. But they also like to say that 3CX is easy to deploy. I would not say that to the customers. I would keep that as a trade secret so you can charge them the big bucks for the installation. Charge them 3 hours, 4 hours, and only take 10 minutes to set it up. I want 5% commission. Okay. Now, Bukul, we will be showing we do have everything pre-recorded on the 3CX Academy. The live webinars for the basic were last week. Okay, now after the PBX Express has been completed, an email will be sent to the address the license key is registered to. You'll have all the information required to be able to log in and start configuring. Now, if you have an existing configuration, you will need to back it up if you want to restore the same configuration. Now, in your backup, you will need to make sure that the license key information, FQDN, and conference option has been selected. Okay, so you can basically restore using the same FQDN. We can access the backup from any public file sharing service, WeTransfer, Dropbox, whatever. As long as it is accessible from the internet, we can access that and restore that. Okay, now the new bits that we have for version 16 update 5. Okay, now the 3CX Instant Manager is a nice little tool that we have. It's a nice little dashboard that we have in the customer and partner portals that allow you to monitor multiple PBXs at once. You can do remote monitoring of the machine's resources, CPU, disk, and memory, and restarting of services remotely, updating. So you are able to you don't even have to log into each PBX to upgrade. Update 5 was released a few days ago. So if you want to update, you just go into the Instance Manager, bang, 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 select them, and update them automatically. Now, the Instance Manager is something that is accessible only from a Linux Debian instance. PBX Express is Linux Debian, so you will be able to see this option in the settings of the PBX. This is not available on a Raspberry Pi. This is not available on the Windows. It will need to be a Linux Debian instance, which does not have failover configured. It needs to be a standalone machine, and it is not configured through a hosting provider itself. You will need to have customer or partner portal access, so because that is where it is found, and the PBX will need to be able to communicate externally on TCP ports 4505, 4506, and 443. Sahil, yes, you can. We are coming to that very, very shortly. We are coming to the URL for the 3CX Academy very shortly. All in good time. Now, the use of the Instance Manager is optional. It is an opt-in. It's not something that you have to do. Now, there are two levels of access. You give yourself access to monitor your PBX from the customer portal without needing to log into the PBX. And you can also give your assigned reseller from the dashboard access to your PBX. The permissions are visible down the bottom. You will be able to see that we can give to allow the remote management, to give our reseller access to that, and what we can allow to see. The customer portal and the partner portal are accessible from customer.3cx.com. Under the instances menu, you will be able to see your own instances, and the reseller can see them as well if you have the access defined. You will be able to see, for example, the health of the machine, if it is green, if it is yellow or red. You will be able to have a variety of options. You can see the history of what's happened in the past hour, and moving on. Now, all the material that we are covering today, the basic, the intermediate, and the advanced is all on the 3CX Academy, www.3cx.com/3CX Academy. We have the slides, pre-recorded videos, and the course content. Israel, yes, I do have a link. Let me just paste that for you right here. Okay, so if you want someone else to join in, you can just give them that link and they'll be able to join in. Okay, they'll just need to put their name in at the beginning and that's all. Okay, right, so I'm just going to share my screen with you guys now and I will be able to show you how to install PBX Express. Okay, just logging into my machine now. Just give me a second and I'll share that screen with you. Okay, just give me a second, just log into that account as well. Fantastic. All right, so let me just share that with you right now. All right, so now you should be able to see my my machine. This is my customer portal. I have my keys over here. I've only got one key on that. This is the instances that we will see very shortly. Okay, let's see what we see on this one. There's nothing configured. Fantastic. All right, so let's go to our keys. We have the deploy button there. I can go to PBX Express. Now, pbxexpress.3cx.com, I will need to copy paste the license key there. Okay, so copy paste the license key. If you don't have one, create one or restore your existing backup. Now, I'm going to do it slightly differently. From here, click on deploy. And you see that it does not ask me for my license key. The license key is automatically put into the address bar. It is already committed and basically moves on to the next option. Now, the time zone, country, and language. It selects Cyprus. So Cyprus has been automatically detected based on my IP address, and so is the time zone. Now, all I need is to select my prompt set, the Aussie English prompt set. Click on Next. We're going to do this one as webinar PBX Express. Okay, .3cx.com.cy. Hopefully that is not taken. Otherwise, I will need to select a new one. Okay, let me just turn off the camera there so it makes it a bit bigger there. Okay, also you should be able to see the full screen now. Okay. All right, so okay, sorry, just okay, so I can make the video. Is it possible to move Evangelos? Yes, it is. All you need to do basically is just take a backup. Okay, just take a backup from wherever you are, and you can restore it to whichever provider that you want. Even if it is from another provider, just take a backup and restore. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Oh, it's already in use. Oh, okay. Let's put April in. Okay, webinar April. Let's put it pbxexpress.3cx.com.cy. Let's click on next. See, it's on a first come, first served basis. Someone has already taken that. I think it probably was me. I probably haven't released it from another license key. Tough luck to me. I just selected a new one. The extension length, I always go for 3. Click on next. Select your hosting provider. We're going to be using Google today. Now, I do have my Google account open. I don't have any resources in use other than the storage bucket, no VMs. Okay, that's the name of the project as well. I've got 2 projects. I'm going to be using the PBX Express one. So I have already created these based on what is configured in the guides over here. All right, so Google, it will ask me to authenticate. Click on allow. If you have 2-factor authentication, it will ask you for it here. Select the project. I've got my 2 projects there. I select. And I select my region. Now I'm going to keep mine as US Central and F1 Micro. The US Central and F1 Micro machines are the free tier of Google. However, I would recommend against using it as a production system because it is weak. Okay, it is the smallest machine that Google gives. It is not enough to sustain a production environment. I only use it for demos. Okay, so only use it for a demo. It is the smallest machine that Google gives. That's why we still have it in the list, even though for us it's not enough. Okay, so just go based on the minimum specs. Be very careful with going very high up. You can use several hundreds of euros an hour. Okay, so please be very careful which machine you select. Okay, If you need to change the specs later on, you can do so from the Google portal. So click on Finish, accept the terms in the license agreement. Now all we need to do is just sit back and relax. Okay, so 10 minutes. I do estimate that we should be done in about 6.5 minutes from now. Brian, no, the project needs to already exist. We do have a guide if you don't know how to create a project, because not everyone just has just a Google account for email. Okay, they don't really have a project, but if you do need to create one, we do have the guide there, which does explain how to do that for you. Okay, but it will just create the VPS. Now the VPS, let's just go very quickly and have a look and see that. If I go to my VMs now, compute engine, I do have my machine up and running. So if I go to my home now, we should see that under my resources. Okay, so we do have the compute engine instance now available. Okay, and we see the CPU is now visible there as well. Okay, so that has created that for me. It has given it an internal IP and an external IP as well, 104.198. Now, just going to go very quickly into my license key. You will see that the FQDN that has been created does not have the IP that has been assigned to me by Google. You will see my local IP address that I have at the office right here. This is normal. This will change in a few minutes. We assign the IP address of your network temporarily until the SSL certificate and FQDN have been properly assigned, and then we go and apply the IP address. Okay, so this will change within a few minutes. Okay, so in the meantime, what's happening in the background is that we've created the VPS, we've installed the operating system, we're now installing 3CX, and very shortly we should be configuring it based on what we have configured earlier on. Okay, from the wizard. So I configured this one today from my account first. It was run, then after I got an error there. Okay, if you do have an error, technical support might need to look at that. I cannot do any troubleshooting through the webinar. Ajay, can we update 3CX in the cloud from an old version to a newer, from version 15 to version 16? Ajay, yes, you can, especially if it is a Linux. It is done through the management console, and you will be able to do that without any issue. Just select it like a service pack, and version 15.5 to 16 will be able to be done. We do estimate that the same procedure will be for version 16 to version 17 as well. No, we will see that in the backing up and restoring next. This is only for the Linux. For the Windows, you do need to take a backup, uninstall, reinstall. But we will talk about that in the next module when we do the backups. Adi, that would be recommended to basically when you restore to a new machine. So if you take from one provider to another, the old machine will need to be deleted or turned off. Okay, so don't have the same license running on two machines. You will run into issues and it will stop working at some point. It will block the license. Okay. So let's go and have a look and see where that is now. Okay, so processing your FQDN 104.198. Let's see if that has updated. Yep, it has updated the IP address as well. So everything is running normally. So we are almost there. We're about 1.5 minutes away from the completion. So you can see how nice and easy it is without even touching a single nut or bolt or screw or anything, not even a single memory chip, processor, nothing. You just set up a PBX and it is up and running. And we will be using it tomorrow when we do the remote extensions. Okay, so let's go back, see if there's any questions. Brian, basically, if it is the same FQDN and you go from one machine to another, you do not need to release the license key, okay? Basically, if you have the two machines on the same license key, they will be battling for the same license key, and the server will see that it has been activated on multiple MAC addresses, and it will block the license, okay? It does happen to me as well when I do demonstrations all around the world with different IP addresses, so be very careful with that. AJ, it doesn't. If it's not reachable, if the PBX is not reachable and it's in the cloud, you can't make a call or receive a call. Okay, that is one of the down points to having a cloud premise, a cloud PBX. Put it on premise, and you should be able to use it even if your internet is down, at least locally internally. Francois, I'm not really sure if Linode is OpenStack compliant. If they are OpenStack compliant, you will be able to choose them as your own VPS provider. We only support out of the box Amazon, Google, and Microsoft and OVH. So if you want to use any other one, if they are OpenStack compliant, you can use with PBX Express. If they're not OpenStack compliant, you can use them if they can provide you with a Debian 9 instance and just use apt-get to basically select the machine that you want. Okay. Brian, even the SBC, if the PBX is down and not reachable, the calls will not be able to be established because the SBC will need to connect to the PBX to establish the calls. The audio, yes, they will still be able to maintain a call if they are active, but to actually create the call, the PBX will need to be reachable. Okay, so there it is. The PBX has been set up. We are ready to go. So all I need to do now is get my password and log in. You can see that it's not an easy password. That is the dot as well. So log into the management console. Admin is the username. You can change this if you want to. And you can also change the password as well. Brian, it is the PBX which maintains the licensing. The SBC just is a connection to connect the remote office to the PBX. It is not a standalone machine. Okay, it's basically what happens if you don't have internet. Can this make a call? No. That's exactly the same with the SBC. That's what the SBC does. Exactly what this does. It creates a tunnel back to the PBX. That's all it does. Okay. Can SBC used as a failover? Alex, the SBC now with update 5 does have high availability as well. You will be able to use them in an active passive with a floating IP address. So you see one IP address and they both talk to each other to maintain which one is active. Okay. Laureano, it does depend if there is any dollar. It does depend on the hosting provider. If you are using the free 3CX, we don't charge anything. If your provider charges anything, that's up to them, and we are not involved in that. Okay, we do not make any commission off the hosting providers. If we did, we wouldn't need to work anyway. We just let them do it and just live off the commissions. Evangelos, we do have the enterprise, which allows you to activate it on a secondary server. Okay, so the license active passive with the PBX, use the enterprise, which does give you a standby license. Okay. Right, so let's go to our PBX now. Oh, activation failed. What happened this time? What happened now? Refresh the license key. Let's see if we get any error there. Nope. So, yep. Okay, it was just a bit of a bitchy connection. So let's see if we have any updates. Okay, I've got a few SIP trunks. Okay. Now, as this is a cloud instance, I can do the firewall check as well, just to make sure that everything is working properly. Okay, always a good idea to do the firewall check just to make sure that everything is working the way it should. Okay, so it's testing the first port now. Fantastic. 5060 is done and it's green. Starts the service again. The tunneling proxy is green now. It's starting the audio ports now. So it's going to test the audio ports. We should have a green go for this one as well. Okay, so everything. So if it is literally just one click, okay, on the dashboard, click on firewall and run. That's all it is, just 2 clicks. Okay, so now we are checking if the firewall configuration is properly done and we have proper communications with the outside world. So just waiting for that to finish. Okay, as you can see, it is struggling now, so we should be able to see under home, we should see the CPU if it is showing. Yep. So we're going to start to see a lot of CPU usage over the next few minutes since we are using it heavily now. AJ, we did talk about this last week when we did the firewall module. You basically only have very few ports open at any given time. 5060 is open, yes. 5090 is open as well. We do have the thresholds to basically secure the PBX, but the audio ports, you've got 2000 ports open on the PBX, on the firewall, sorry. The PBX does not maintain these ports open. It will only open the necessary ports that it needs as and when required dynamically. So you will never have 2000 ports open at any given time, okay? Even though they're open on the firewall, the PBX will have them stopped and only open them up as and when it requires them. Brian, that might also be for the hosting. It might be for example, to access these services on the machine as well. What we require basically is the very basics of 5060, 5090, and the audio ports and the web ports, obviously, as well. Okay, so anything else is basically something that is on the hosting, at the hosting level. Okay, let's go and have a look and see where that is. That's gone and done quite a few of them. It does them all at once, and there we go. Okay, so that has been completed. I can now just go to my dashboard, and my firewall check is done. Okay, now the IP address is assigned as a dynamic. We do put it to dynamic. If you are certain that your provider has given you a static IP address, you can change that to static. Now, from my knowledge, especially with the F1 Micro, Google gives it as a semi-static IP address. It will remain static until I shut down the machine, relinquish the IP, and when I start it up again, it might give me a new one. I say might, because it might give me the same one. Okay, now, I've unlinked the provider. Okay, so the reseller has been unlinked now. Now, going to the settings of the PBX and under Instance Manager, as we saw under the instances over here, we do not have any instances configured. Okay, so let's go and start that up. Allow remote management of this PBX. I want everything, so monitoring, management, and data access. Like I said, this is an opt-in, and I can't grant my assigned reseller access to my PBX as well. So that will install the instance manager, and within a few minutes, I should be able to see that coming up on here as well. In the meantime, I will log into my customer account again with my partner access. So just logging into that very quickly. Okay, so we can see my partner account. I am an affiliate. I am the worst partner of 3CX, 0 revenue in 2020. Going to instances, I should not be able to see any instances here. Or I might have another stray PBX there. Okay, nothing yet. So let's go to our original instance over here under the custom. Now, this is the owner of the license key, okay? So the owner of the license key is a customer, but I also have a partner account as an assigned reseller. Eduardo, the firewall does check the audio ports that the conferences will use, and basically it checks all the UDP ports of the PBX, SIP, tunnel, and audio. Brian, that is true, even if the firewall test does fail, but just to guarantee that everything does work smoothly, and it's not always the case, sometimes it will work, sometimes it doesn't. It is always recommended, however, to have the firewall check passing, just to make sure that it always works. Otherwise, you guys are going to call and complain to technical support, the PBX is crap and it doesn't work, but you haven't got your firewall open, okay? John, all I did basically was to go. You need to have a Linux machine, though. You cannot do this on Windows or Raspberry Pi. Okay, so from the PBX instance manager right there. Okay, so if you have a Linux machine, this button will now be visible. Instance manager, and there it is. So we should be able to see that under the instance manager now. So let's go to instances again. I'll change that password as well for that. Okay, so there we are now under instances. We now have webinar April PBX Express.3cx.com.cy. We can see that it is green. I can see any historic data there as well. That will be coming in in about an hour or so. Clicking on that, I will be able to see the memory usage, disk. I can toggle the history as well. I see bits of information about the machine as well. I can update 3CX. So if you do have an existing PBX on an older version, you just select it and update 3CX. You don't even need to go into the PBX itself. You can start the services, update to 3CX beta, reboot the machine if you need to as well, restart the services, add a note. You can add tags as well. So if you want to put this onto a customer, you can add a tag as well. Okay, so you can add a tag and just, for example, say clients. Okay. And when you do a search, you will be able to search with the tags as well. All right, so basically just in a way, very nice, easy way to maintain your PBXs. So select, update, that will do the updates very easily. Okay, and you can basically see which ones need attention or not. Right, so we're going to go now and give access to the reseller now. So the reseller still hasn't been assigned that access, okay? As we can see, the reseller has not been assigned that access. We do that from the partner, from the dashboard. So you put the partner number in. That will assign it to the reseller. We should see that coming up under the reseller. And I should be able to almost instantly see my customers' instances as well. Okay, so if that doesn't happen instantly, just, yep, there it is. Okay, so everything is up and running now. Okay. So it helps to use. Brian, that's basically up to you. If you are comfortable with Linux, why not? But to be able to do this, yes, you will need to have Linux on that. Okay. Jody, about dial out codes. Okay, Jody, I can't really do troubleshooting on that. I will do one for you if we have the time at the end. Just remind me at the end if just to show you how to do that. So you can basically I'll give you an example on that. Okay. Yes, Brian, that is true. But if you don't have that we can see that it's gone yellow. What's gone yellow? Okay, we have a problem on our machine here. So let's go to that. The average memory usage is too high. Telephony might be affected. So even if we don't have access to the PBX itself from the instance manager, I can see that the average memory usage is too high and it's giving me a warning on that. Okay, so that's what the instance manager does. It warns you about something not going well before getting a warning from your customer. Okay. Jody, you would use the outbound rules for that, for your dial codes. Seifu, yes, you can connect an analog line to a cloud PBX if you VPN the two sites together. The gateway and the PBX will need to be on local subnets. Okay, so they will need to be locally addressable. Okay, so let's go and move on to backup and restore. Oh, backing up and restoring. Now, I need you guys to be honest with me. Has anyone been in a situation where you have lost information on a mission critical machine or not and not had a backup to restore from? I can see that most people, yep. Okay, now this is anonymous, only I can see your names. Okay, so you're not exposing yourself to your peers. Is there anyone who has not experienced this? Now, if anyone answered that they have not experienced this, you're either not being in IT long enough or you're downright lying. Okay. Now, we've all been in that situation. Now, not having a backup, that is one of the most shitty feelings that you can ever have on a job. Okay. You basically have liars. Yeah, I know. Yep. Now, a lot of people don't have backups, okay? A lot of people, it's too difficult to do them, storage costs, this and that. People try to find excuses. And then when the time comes, they lose the information, and you get that feeling right there, just where your appendix is, and it's like, this is going to be a long day, a long week, or a long month. Now, we've all been there. I'm not one to judge, and I'm not going to judge anyone for not having one, because I've been in that situation. Now, we are going to see how easy it is. Laureano, it's not just taking a backup and downloading it, it's also testing it as well. Because a lot of people, they say, okay, I'm safe, I have a backup, but they never tested it. What happens if you need that backup and it's corrupt? Okay, that's even worse. Because you say, oh my God, yes, I have a backup, I can delete the machine. You intentionally delete the machine because you have a backup. That's even worse. Okay. Now, I can understand if a machine goes belly up, a disk goes kaboom or whatever. But guess what? If you delete the machine because you know you have a backup to restore from and it's not working, ouch. Yeah. So we've all been there. Don't worry. We've all been there. I'm not one to judge. Now, however, I will be judging you from now on. With this module, we're going to see how we use the backups in 3CX. We're going to see the different options. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks, how we handle the recordings, how we do schedules. As of that point, I will not have any mercy on you. How we use the command line to schedule a backup. This is the only thing that we do using command line in 3CX. And we're going to talk about what information is restored and what's not. Brian, yes, you can. You can restore to another instance. Just I would make sure that it's not connected to the internet at the time. Okay, no access to the internet, because otherwise it will try to trigger a licensing request from the server. If it's on a different MAC address, you will have an issue there as well. So be very careful with that. But yes, you can. Just put it on a VM, isolate it. You should be okay. Now, a lot of people, when they use several different systems, they have different backup softwares, hardware, tape drives, if they're still in use. Does anyone still use tape drives? I used to use tape drives when I used to work in a bank. Yeah, that was a bit of a hell, that one. Now, doing a backup in 3CX, it's very simple. It is so simple that as of now, I will not give anyone any excuse for not having a backup, okay? We store it in a zip file. That zip file is accessible. So you will be able to see if it is intact or not. Now, in addition to the recovery of a disaster, we have several different scenarios for using a backup in 3CX. So it's not just recovering from a disaster. Migrations. You guys, when we did the PBX Express, you asked me if it is possible to go from an on-premise to a hosted instance. Yes, it is. So from on-premise, I can go to hosted, and I can go the other way as well. Some customers, you set it up in the cloud, but they want to see the blinky lights. You take a backup of the hosted, put it on-premise with the same configuration. Reprovision your phones, you're good to go. You might change the server, going from an older machine to a newer machine. Same thing. Take a backup, decommission the old machine, set up the new one, restore your backup. You might go from hosted to hosted, also possible. You might go from Linux to Windows or Windows to Linux. Using the same backup without any modification whatsoever. You take a backup in Windows, you restore in Linux. You take a backup in Linux, you restore in Windows. No whatsoever. Let me bring my camera up so you can see me as well. Sorry about that. I'll just remember to turn it off when we're doing, because I'm basically doing my hand signals as well. Now, what happens when the time comes to go to a new version of 3CX? We did talk about this earlier on with AJ. If you are in Linux, it's just a service pack update. You select it, download selected, it logs you out. Within a few minutes, you are in the new version. That's what happened with version 15.5 to version 16. We are estimating that it will be the same as and when version 17 comes out. But with Windows, it's not so simple. You need to take a backup of version 16 or 15.5 if you are coming from version 15.5. I would recommend doing the Windows updates in the meantime, uninstalling the old version, rebooting the machine. You don't need to reboot for the uninstallation of 3CX, but it is recommended just to be nice and fresh. And then you install version 16, restoring the configuration during the installation. Do not set it up and then restore. Restore during the installation, okay? Brian, if your backup will basically be a version 15.5 if you are coming from the older version. So you can basically just reinstall version 15.5 and just restore that backup, yeah. But if you have a version 16, if you create a new backup in version 16, you cannot restore that in version 15.5, okay? Sebastian, it's all about the FQDN, okay? Because if you have your license key already there, it's just double the work, okay? Because then you'll need to set up the PBX, then you won't be able to, it's just a mess. Just do it. You have the configuration there already. just restore it during the installation, okay? Okay, keep it simple. That's our mentality in 3CX. Keep it as simple as possible. Now, in addition to not taking a backup and getting into that situation where you are up shit creek without a paddle, okay? Sorry for talking like that, but we're all techs and we've all been in that situation. We've all been in the situation where something new comes out and we start to configure something on the production system without using a sandbox. Guilty of that as well. I do that on my Unify machines as well. As soon as something comes out, I start configuring this. You do it on the PBX as well. Start configuring, oh, new SBC, new this, new that. Oh, let's do this. Let's click on there, click on that. And then you get the tap on the shoulder. Nicholas, the phones are not working. Shit. I forgot what I did. So before doing any major configuration, please do a backup. Okay, if something goes wrong, if you mess it up, you go back to square one. Worst case scenario, you lose a few recordings, you lose a few call logs. Okay, rather than losing your sanity. Brian, you don't actually have to restore from the same version because you're going to have a version 15.5 backup. That can come to a version 16. A version 16, which is a newer version, cannot go back. Okay, so your backup, Evangelos, that is right. It depends on how much you mess up. Sometimes it is your job on the line as well. That's right. Okay, so basically that is the uses. Sorry. Last one, failover synchronization. If you have an active passive scenario of your PBX setup, so you have an active machine processing the calls. If something goes wrong with that, the secondary machine takes over, starts processing the calls. It will need to have the latest configuration. That configuration is done, the transfer is done from the backups, either daily or weekly. Okay, so you basically get the backup, put it onto the cloud somewhere, FTP, Google Drive, whatever, and then restore it onto the secondary machine. But the backups are the ones used. There is no real-time transfer of data in this case. Okie dokie. So the backup and restore page is in the management console. You can take a backup whenever you want on demand. You select the options, and you can also schedule your backups. Schedule nightly. Turn it on. Be safe. Okay, better to be safe than sorry. If they take up too much space, get a bigger disk, or don't keep as many copies on the disk as well. Okay. Laureano, yes, you can. You just do a scheduled backup, and you just select your destination. We'll see the destinations very, very shortly. Now, it is a zip file. That zip file, if it gets into the wrong hands, could be catastrophic. I'm going to say catastrophic because it is true. That zip file will contain usernames and passwords to SIP providers. If that falls into the wrong hands, they can connect on your account and make calls at your expense. It's also got personal information, users, names, surnames, emails, mobile numbers, contacts. So your business contacts, which are on the PBX as well. So if that falls into the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic. Now, we do password encrypt the zip file. So even if it does fall into the wrong hands, it will be useless to them. Okay. Now, be very careful when you are setting up your encryption password. We do not lock access to the file. We encrypt the contents. It is an encryption password. Now, put your password there. If you are copy pasting from a password policy document, please be very careful not to copy paste spaces before and after. Okay. If you are in doubt, press that little button there to decrypt it and make sure you don't have spaces before and after. If you lose this password, tough luck. There is nothing that technical support can do for you. If you lose the password, just delete the zip file. It is worthless. It is useless. There is no backdoor to this. Okay? Be very, very careful. Okay? Now, Can you make an instance image for the backup? Yes, you can. If you are in a hosting environment, if you are doing a virtualization, of course, it's a good idea to keep an image of your machine as well. A lot of people don't do the backups of 3CX because they have images of the machine itself, of the instance. That's quite okay. However, even if you do image mirroring, okay, even if you do create a snapshot, please take a backup of the PBX every now and then. Your snapshot might get corrupted, okay? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So even if you are doing snapshots, for the love of God, just take a backup of the PBX every now and then, even if it's just the configuration, okay? So at least most of your work will be there for you if something goes wrong, okay? AJ, no, there isn't. Everything is online because it changes all the time. We don't want people having outdated equipment information. Sorry, just moving on. Yes, okay, we've done all the disclaimers for that. Now, not all the information. Brian, yes, it can. I will be talking about the destinations very, very shortly. Okay, so backups take the information from the PBX. Now, not all the information is restored. There is some information which is not restored with the backup. We call that bit of information host data. Okay, it's not restored. Now, when you are setting up the PBX, it will always ask you for the SIP and tunnel passwords for an on-premise installation. If you are doing PBX Express, it will default to 5060, 5090, 80, and 443. So you can see that if you have different ports for the web from an on-premise going to PBX Express, these ports will not be ported over from the backup. It will basically follow the machine itself. Okay, it will be forced to use 80 and 443 in a PBX Express. But if you come from a PBX Express to an on-premise, you can define 5001 and 5000. So this information is not carried over from the backup. The same happens with the SIP and tunnel ports 5060, 5090 by default, and also the external RTP. Coming from an older version to version 16, we now have 2000 ports for the audio. We didn't have that before, we had 500. So basically now we have expanded the ports. If you came with those ports from the older version, the first thing that wouldn't work is the web client because that uses ports 10,500 to 10,999. Okay, so you can see that we do not honor the backups for the ports. The information that is restored, however, is everything else: extensions, system extensions, VoIP providers, gateways, audio prompts, music on hold, license keys, FQDN, and SSL certificate. Some of these are optional, some of these are within the backup by default. The options of the backups. The main configuration is always included. That's the system extensions, ring groups, queues, digital receptionists, user extensions, extension groups, SIP trunks, PSTN gateways, inbound rules, outbound rules, audio prompts, audio files, music on hold, call history, okay? The information that creates the reports, what call has been made and received, and when, costs, and so on. Chat history, if you have it enabled as well, so the chat information will be restored as well. But we also have recording history. Now, the recording history is the reference to the recording files. We will be seeing this very shortly when we do the recordings coming up next. So we have the recording history. However, we also have the optional items for backup: the license key, FQDN, and conference. Now, if you want to change the FQDN of your PBX, you can do so very easily. Take a backup without the first option, the license key information. Release your FQDN from your partner portal or customer portal and reinstall the PBX. And it will then ask you again for your FQDN, the new one. Okay? But if you are going to be restoring with the same FQDN, you keep that active. Okay? Custom templates, ringtones, and logos. Now, 3CX doesn't really like people customizing its templates, okay? But people do. We don't prevent you from doing so. And if you do customizations, you will need to select this one to bring that over to the new version. However, be very careful when doing so. Things do change. Variables do change. Options change. And so does the firmware. So your customization might be outdated very quickly, even from one firmware version to another, okay? With the same version of 3CX. Voicemails. We talked about the voicemails last week. One of the options that we showed as well on that was the voicemails, the WAV files that are carried over, okay? Recordings, the recordings of the extensions. Now, the custom templates, the logos and firmware, especially the firmware, the voicemails and the recordings will take up a hefty amount of space on a disk, okay? Now, I have heard some crazy numbers of backups. I once did a training, and one of the guys asked, or I asked, what's the biggest size of backups that you've had? One guy answered 40 terabytes. He was doing a backup for a PBX for a call center, and he was backing up the recordings as well. Now, 40 terabytes is a hefty amount of storage, okay? He could have very easily just offloaded that to an archive and had a much smaller backup. That's right, Laureano. So, like we said for the voicemail, but use the email notifications for your voicemails to send the notification, send the WAV file as an attachment, and delete it from the PBX. Okay? Your recordings, they do not need to be in the backups. You can put them on a separate disk. We're going to see that later on as well. So put them on a separate disk and archive them as well off-site. So you can basically do your backup and restore separately. Okay? Now, if the recording is off-site in an archive, we will reference it from the recording history so we can still access it from our web client and from the management console. It's just not on the PBX itself. Put it off-site. Don't put it in the backup every single day. It's a waste of space. Okay? Okay, and you put the password there as well. Jumrat, no. The only thing you can customize is the logo on the phones, on the management console, on 3CX software, and in web client as in web meeting. Anything else, 3CX branded, will not be white labeled. Okay, we do not white label. If we catch you doing so, you will invalidate the use of the license, and we will revoke the license, and will probably sue you as well. Okay, so the only thing you can change the logo on is the IP phones and web meeting. Okay, nothing else. Now, the backup locations, whether you are doing an on-demand or scheduled backup, you will do a backup to the local disk. This will need to be a locally addressable disk, SATA drive in the server itself, whether that is mechanical or SSD. If you are using a NAS, you can use iSCSI, or you can use a storage area network using Fiber Channel. You can connect through FTP, secure FTP. You can connect to an SMB drive, or you can use Google Buckets. Google Drive was valid up until update 4. We have deprecated that, and we have replaced that with Google Storage, okay? Google Buckets. Joe, I am assuming that you are talking about getting your customers up and running with the same configuration. Now, be very careful if you are going to be doing something like that, okay? That's very risky. With the backup and restore, it's not recommended to do so, because when you do a backup of one PBX and restore on another, you are basically copying over the same provisioning subdirectory. That's a big data breach. That's a big security breach waiting to happen, because if one of your PBXs gets breached, all of them will. Set it up from the beginning, import your extensions, and then set everything up, okay? You will need to do the repetitive work. Hopefully you are charging by the hour. If not, you should need to start to do so, and you're going to give me 5%. Okay. Oops, sorry. Just right. Okay. But no, don't use a backup to catch a template and then bring other people's configurations in. That's a bad idea. Okay. You will have the same provisioning subdirectory over lots of PBXs. Bad idea. Okay. And if you get hacked, it's not our fault. You did it on yourself. So, backing up tips, recordings. The recordings do not need to be in the backups. Archive them. You can archive to an FTP, secure FTP, SMB drive, or Google Buckets, Google Storage. Okay? Do the archiving regularly. They will still be accessible from the web clients for the users. They will still be accessible from the management console. However, the PBX will not be burdened with the storage of the recordings. Okay? Schedule a regular archiving and do it on a schedule. Let them go free. Jody, hoping someday someone says yes about what? Sorry, I think I just missed something there. To the actually, I am one day. Listen, it doesn't hurt to ask, does it? It doesn't hurt to ask, does it? The worst case scenario, I get a no. Listen, when you start talking money to someone, that's when they start thinking, this is going to cost me money if I do something, if I mess up. I think I should put a fine on people, €1,000 if I catch you without a backup and you open a ticket to technical support. Okay, so right, scheduling a backup. It's very easy to do. As of this point, now I have the list of everyone who's in the webinar, so I know if you've been in the webinar or not, and for how long you've been here. Now, if any one of you opens up a ticket and tells technical support, I don't have a backup, I swear I will give you a fine, or I will get in a plane as and when I'm allowed to travel, come to whichever country you are, find you, because I've got your emails as well, GDPR my foot. I will come to your office, hit you, and charge you for the ticket. Now, Jody, I probably won't hit you, but you will get a stern fingering, okay? But you will get charged the ticket. There is no excuse from now on, okay? It is so simple to do. Now, the demonstration that we're going to do today is the PBX that I have locally. I'm going to destroy that and restore it, okay? So I'm literally going to destroy my PBX. Oh, Jody, the turd emoji is in the web client in the chat. So when you do chat through web client, you will be able to use the emote icon for the turd. It is there. So, Khan, listen, I'd prefer we meet somewhere on good terms rather than you not having a backup and me having to hit you, okay? So I would prefer you just say, let's listen, let's meet up somewhere. I do travel a lot. I probably will be in probably just a few countries this year, not too many as last year. Hopefully we do meet somewhere on good terms, have a beer, have a drink, have a cup of tea. If you don't drink alcohol, that's not the problem with me, but on good terms, not without having a backup and having me hit you, okay? So now, the backup schedule. It is literally just a few clicks, okay? On the PBX data on the dashboard, you will see automatic backups are off. You turn it on, you will come to this page. Even from the backup and restore, it is enable schedule, okay? Backup schedule. It's one click, you select your options, you select daily or weekly, when you want to do the backup, the time, the day, the date, and your retention policy. You can have a maximum of 25 backup files per folder. Okay, so you select daily with 25, you've got approximately 1 month of backups. Weekly with 25, you've got approximately 6 months. Okay. Bring it, dingo. Troy Chicky. I don't ride a dingo, I ride a kangaroo. Brian, yes, you do receive an email with failed and successful backups. So if you are the admin, you will receive those notifications for the backups. Okay. Can we configure to replace old one? Mohammed, yes, you can. Now, we have a retention policy. Now, if you have a retention policy of 1, okay, it will do the scheduled backup. The second schedule, it will go and override the first one because you only have 1 defined as your retention policy. Now, if you have 25, it will take 25 backups. On the 26th day or week, it will go and delete the oldest one. Okay, so it does the rotation. Okay, and that's automatic. You don't need to do anything configuration. Just select your rotation here, and that's it. Okay, right. Now, a lot of people say that having only one schedule is a bit restrictive, either daily or weekly. A lot of people want a bit more flexibility. Well, it is possible, but not from the management console. The management console can only have one schedule. If you want to have multiple schedules, you need to go to your operating system. You will need to do a scheduled task. So either a scheduled task in Windows or a cron job in Linux. Aha, you see, I know the terminology as well. I know enough Linux to be dangerous. Now, all you need to do is follow the link there. Okay, if you need to copy paste that, do a 3CX, do a Google search, 3CX command line backup. Okay, and that will give you that document. All the options are available, all the options that you have to select. However, the only trade-off is that you can only do a local backup. Not offsite, not to FTP, not to secure FTP, no Google buckets, no SMB, okay? Just locally, and then use your rsync to copy it over. Now, we have another nice little article for that, 3CX rsync files. Right, so just going to give you a copy paste there as well. A bit more homework for you guys. And that will allow you, when you do something locally, to rsync it off to another machine. Brian, the only effect on the resources is basically the use of the disk. Obviously, it is going to be using some CPU, but depending on the size of the backups, it's not really that, it's not too intensive and not for too long, unless you've got multiple terabytes. But then you're going to use my recommendations to get everything, no voicemails, recordings, archived, so it doesn't do that, okay? Generally, it shouldn't take up too much resources. Okay, let me just copy that for you guys. Evangelos, you're too lazy to Google it, huh? Right, busy. So 3CX command line backup. Someone's a bit lazy to do a Google search, huh? All right, so there it is there as well. Okie dokie. So, moving on. Right, so let's go demonstrate. Let's go mess up my PBX now. Brian, tell me about it. Everything is in quarantine, mate. Can't wait till we get out. It's like a prison sentence, mate. Now I know how people feel under house arrest. Right, so that's the demo. I'm going to get the video off so you can see it at a bigger screen there. Right, okay, so that's our instance manager. Let's go to our local PBX. 16 up. Log into my PBX. Wrong password, sorry. Now, before I go, now I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to go change the password on this PBX because that will log me out, and I don't really want to find the password after. I'm just going to put my default password in. Security settings, admin credentials, admin. You can change that as well if you want to. Paste that in. And there we go. Okay, let's try that out. So we get, hey, I'm in. Okay, right. Yeah, I should not leave that to later. Now, my local PBX, system extensions, what extension is not working? Ah, fax, okay. Sorry, just let me get rid of that. Right, okay. Now, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go and create a backup. So backup and restore. We have webinar. Oh, we've got previous ones as well from the 7th. Let me just delete those. Delete, delete, and delete. Okay, so I'm going to take a full backup. I'm going to call this one webinar initial. Okay, that's the first backup that I'm taking. I'm going to do a backup of everything. And I'm not going to encrypt it. Okay, click on OK and just wait for a few seconds. That should take about a minute or so and do the backup. So Evangelos, I'm actually using Chrome. I'm not using Chromium. I do have it installed, I think. I think I do have it. I did I? No. Oh, that was my old laptop. Oh, that was before I reset this. Actually, I'm just using the default Chrome. Jody, are you using the new Edge? Is that still a memory hog like Google Chrome is, or is it just it's better on the memory? I might actually give it a try because I'm just used to Google, to be honest. I'm just by habit. Right, so let's go and see if that backup has been done. Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay, webinar initial. Okay, now I'm going to download that onto my desktop. I have shared it with you. Yes, I have. You can see it. Okay. And desktop, save. And this is what a backup looks like. Okay. So let's put it on there. And this is what the configuration, not now, this is what the configuration looks like. Okay. So if this falls into the wrong hands, it could be disastrous, catastrophic. Okay. Now, I am going to do a backup, webinar encrypted. Okay. I'm just going to take the configurations just so you can see what happens. And the audio. Okay, so just take a normal basic backup. I'm going to encrypt it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just make sure the password is okay. And click on OK. Okay, so that will take a backup. So we can see the configuration just encrypted. Okay, just so you can see what happens there. Now, I will go and make sure that you can actually hear it. Can't hear it? No? Okay, it's coming in through that. So what happens now in this backup, they can see this and they can also hear the IVR prompts. So let's go and get that. Okay. Okay, so we get access denied. We can actually play the file, so everything is accessible. Okay. So just waiting for that second backup to be done. Okay, so the encrypted, I'm just going to download that as well so you can see that as well. Save, open that up. I'm going to bring that over as well. Now, look what happens when it is encrypted. Good luck trying to decrypt that, okay? So rest assured that even if this zip file is given to, or this one is given to someone, they won't be able to use it without the password. Now, in addition to that, look at the IVR prompts. Let's get the same prompt. Let's get another one, access allowed by system. Okay, and look what happens now. Cannot play the file, okay? It is encrypted. Even though they can see the contents, they cannot access the information within the files, okay? So don't worry about your information. Encrypt it and you're safe. Okay. Booker, basically that was just the configuration file. That was within the zip file. I basically unzipped it. I basically unzipped the XML, which is the configuration of the PBX. Okay. Yes, Brian, it can only be decrypted during a restore. Okay. Yep, keep it simple and safe. That's right, Sebastian. Keep it simple and safe. Always encrypt. Right. So now starts the good bit. This is where you get to see a PBX suffering. Right. So first things first, I have 73 extensions. Okay, I've got a SIP trunk as well. I've got quite a few extension groups. I've got an inbound rule. I've got outbound rules as well. I've got a digital receptionist. I've got a ring group. I don't have a queue. Got quite a few recordings. I'm going to mess all this up. So first things first, settings. General. I'm going to delete my emergency numbers from my PBX so I can delete my SIP trunk. Goodbye. No 911 configuration now. Extensions. Select them all. Delete. Goodbye. Okay, extension 100 cannot be deleted. Let's remove that. Delete. Thank you. Goodbye. Okay, I now have one extension. My extension groups. There's no extensions in them. I can select and delete. Okay, except the default, which stays English. I rename my default to English. My SIP trunk. I can delete that as well. Before I do, I'm going to go and delete my outbound rules, because that will delete the inbound rule anyway. So I'm going to make it a bit more dramatic now. Delete everything, delete the SIP trunk. Goodbye, thank you. Digital receptionist, delete that, thank you. Ring group, I know you're jealous now, you want to do this on your own PBXs as well. Recordings, let's delete some recordings. So let's delete Maze. Delete, goodbye. Backup and restore. I'm not deleting anything from here. You wish. Okay, core log. I will delete that from the dashboard. Security, IP blacklist, nothing there. My phone's deregistered now. Security settings, remove the automatic blacklist. Put that blacklist interval to 1 second. Remove my secure ciphers, secure SIP, I'll just keep that there. Remove my allowed country codes. Remove that. 3CX tunnel, keep it there. Credential, okay, this is redundant. FXS decked, no. Hot desking, no. Contacts, no. Any other settings I can delete? Nothing. I guess I've gone a bit too overboard now. Not to worry. Purge 601 calls. And do I have any chat logs as well? Oh, I've got 12 messages here as well. Goodbye. Okay. I think I've well and truly messed up my PBX. Brian, that is actually true, but it's a lot easier just to access them from the backup and restore page. Laureano, no, there is no reset all. So for you to basically mess up your PBX that way, you've done it yourself or someone's done it for you. That's it. We've got a messed up PBX. How easy is it now to... I'm just going to relax now. I'm going to go to backup and restore. I'm going to select my webinar encrypted, not that one, sorry, with all the configuration and options. Click on restore, click on OK. And I just need to wait. Now, if I had the encrypted backup, it will ask me for my password there and then log me out. Now, I can monitor this since it is on the Windows machine. I can just go to the services. I'll see that the services get stopped, the patch gets applied, and the services restart. So, Brian, you just go to the file where it is, the folder. If it is on a remote location, you'll just basically select your location of the backup. I'll do that when we get back in so you can see. You just basically define where the location. So the backups that you saw there were in the default location that I have on the PBX. Okay. Now, if I selected FTP, it would go and see what all the backups that I have in the FTP. So you just need to browse and go to that location. Okay. Now, since we're waiting, I'm just going to have a bit of a snack. Not just you guys eating and drinking. Cheers. For those of you in Cyprus and Greece, look what I've got. Oh, sorry, I forgot you don't have the camera on. Hey, drinking and smoking and eating is allowed during my webinars. Evangelos, this isn't school. You're not in university. You're not in school. You're not in high school. You're not in primary school. You're allowed to have stuff here. Guys, the funny thing was at one of my trainings, just while we wait for that backup to be restored, during my online trainings, my live trainings that I did once, I was in Prague. And after lunch, during lunch, we basically had beers because that's their culture. They basically had beers. And two of the guys actually brought a beer to the training room. I just looked at them and I said, guys, what's that on your desk? Sorry, you got to look at my look as well. Guys, what's that on your desk? They said, beer. Guys, you know it's not good, right? Where's mine? Hey, they brought a beer to the training room and they didn't bring me one. I actually made them go down and bring me one. Right. Okay, so let's go and have a look and see what we've done. Have we managed to restore our PBX? Right, let's go have a look and see what happens. Now, we come back to the backup and restore page. Let's click on dashboard. Look, I've got 73 extensions again, and 3 of them are up. I've got 601 calls. Let's enable my chat. Do I have my chat? I've got my 12 messages there again. All my phones are registered. My extensions are there as well, and I have registered extensions as well. My groups are all there with extensions in them as well. My SIP trunk's there, my inbound rule, outbound rule, digital receptionist is there, my ring group is there, my May recordings are there as well. They're there as well. What else did we have? Settings, general, emergency settings. Okay, so everything is restored back to normal within just a few minutes. Okay, always have your backup. If something goes wrong, you'll be laughing and having a buraki as well. Brian, of course you can. Of course you can upload to the PBX. You can't do it from the management console, okay? But your location, you can upload your backups right there. You can also do it from here as well. So if you have access to a machine via FTP, just go and upload your backups to that location, and then you'll be seeing them over here as well. Okay, so your location is there. Okay, FTP, Google Drive, Google Storage, SMB, and Secure FTP. Okay, wherever you are, you'll be able to see it. The backup's very easy to do. The backup schedule. Okay, let's go and have a look and see our backup schedule. Oh, sorry, wrong one. So this one does not have automatic backups off. I can just click on that. Enable, 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 enable. No, don't want encryption. Daily at midnight with 10 files in that location. Okay. And now I can see that automatic backups are on and the date of the last backup. Okay. Cool. Jeffrey, we don't record this webinar. My goodness, if this webinar was recorded, they'd probably fire me. Stuff that I've said. But everything is pre-recorded at that URL, okay, on the 3CX Academy. Right, so let's move on to the last one, the call recordings. Now, the call recordings, we have covered it just a bit as well with the backups. That's part of it as well. Sorry, shit. No, wrong one. Okay, so this one is a very short module. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to see the enterprise functionality of 3CX where we are able to enable and disable recordings to the extensions. Okay, so we can force a policy of recordings to the extensions. We're going to talk about the file location. We're going to talk about the format and compression, the quota, and some backup tips as well. We have already talked about them slightly, so it is a bit of a repetition for that. Now, with the Enterprise Edition of 3CX, you will be able to prevent an extension either from starting a recording. For example, in the healthcare industry, they want to have the confidentiality. But on the other spectrum, you have the stockbrokers, the foreign exchange, where they do take orders from the phone, and they want the recording to always be active. So you can prevent an extension from either starting or stopping a recording and force it to do one of the two. We do have recordings off as an option. Recording of all calls, incoming, outgoing, local, and external calls, and external calls only. So when you are calling to your colleagues, this will not be recorded. Okay. The option down the bottom is available only in the Enterprise Edition. Okay. To be disabled. If you are doing a professional PBX, you will see this is active, but it's grayed out, so you will be able to start and stop the recordings. Andrea, the purpose of schedule, sorry, I didn't see that question before. The purpose of scheduling a restore for the failover. Okay, so you do a schedule on the active server, but the passive server needs to have the current configuration. So you do a scheduled restore from the FTP server and it restores the current configuration. Okay. That's right, Sebastian, 1 minute equals 1 megabyte if you are using PCM. Andrea, I don't know if you have a question pertaining to your previous one, but I did not see that earlier on, but I did see it now. Yep, fantastic. FTP, SMB, iSCSI, anything to a NAS if you are using any one of those, fantastic. No, Mohammed, it is only active passive, no load balancing. So in Pro, the recording is either on or off for an extension, okay? But they will be able to start and stop the recording. So if you have recordings off in Pro, an extension can start the recording and they can stop the recording. However, in the Enterprise, I can prevent them from doing so. I can force a policy on them. And the recording is done at the extension level, okay? So I can do this on the extension level. One extension might be forced, the other one might be allowed. Okay, so this is variable per extension. Andrea, Dropbox, we don't have it natively, but if you do an FTP, I think you can do an FTP to a Dropbox. I'm not really sure about that, but you can do an FTP for that. Evaristo, the recordings are available on the disk. You can pass them. You can basically get them and put them into the. I don't know if the CRM will basically get that from. We have it from the reports. We do have it from the reports to get the recording that you want. But if you want to put it into your CRM, you should be able to basically get that information and pass it through. But because it's a very standardized format of the recording file name. Evangelos, yes, you can. You just select the multiple extensions, click on edit, and you are editing multiple extensions. Okay? Right. Now, the recordings. The recordings now are only local. Okay? Only local locations. Local disk, SATA, and SSD. iSCSI. The iSCSI, if you are using a NAS with an iSCSI Docker, storage area network, no network drives or folders. The SMB, the FTP, that is only for the backups. However, for the recordings, you only have local locations. Now, the reason being is that we need to have block level access to the disk itself. Okay? When a call is established, the recording starts first and then the call gets answered. Okay? If for any reason your network drive is not accessible, the call will not be established. It will be a dead call. Okay, so be very careful when you are using even an iSCSI through a NAS as well. Make sure that it does not power down. For example, if it does power down, first call Monday morning will take a few seconds to establish. Okay. Now, the quota, 5 gigabytes by default, you can put that down to 1 gigabyte minimum, and the maximum is the disk space available. Okay. You can also auto clean any old recordings if you do not have a retention policy. However, if you have the automatic archiving of recordings, not have this feature. Okay, you will see a notification saying that this is overridden by the automatic archiving. And I can also get an email notification if my recordings folder is over a certain percentage of my quota. The format of the recordings in 3CX and any audio file is a WAV file. We use a WAV file very specifically because it is not compressed, it's easy to process, and royalty-free. WAV file, 8 kilohertz, 16-bit mono is the standard format of a 3CX WAV file. We've got two compressions though. PCM is the default, and that's approximately 1 megabyte per minute of recording per extension, and it's playable by all media players. However, to save on disk space, we do compress the WAV file. We don't make it into an MP3. That takes up a lot of CPU. So we compress into adaptive PCM, which will give you 256 kilobytes per minute of recording per extension. Okay? But there is a trade-off that this is not playable by all media players. Some media players will not play files like this. It is just a very simple checkbox under the quota to enable the compression. This will compress from this point forward. It will not convert existing recordings into compressed. Okay? So you are compressing from this point on. Backup tips. In addition to the archiving, we recommend that you put the recordings onto a separate local disk because the recordings are done on the fly. If you are recording a lot of extensions at the same time, it could degrade the performance of the PBX. So put an additional drive, have the recordings go on that, and have your operating system on an SSD, for example, smaller and faster. Okay, and this will not affect the performance of the PBX. You can also do the backups separately if you need to, and you can also archive to FTP, SFTP, SMB, or Google Drive. Okay. Now, if you are going to put them onto a separate drive, make a folder. do not put your recordings into just the D drive. D/recordings. Okay, we have seen corruption when when a lot of files go into the root of the disk. Serkan, know that we do have the management console for that, where you can do a search, but it's not really to that level that you require it there. Jody, as long as the server itself, the instance, can see it as a local drive, I think /dev/ whatever they call them in Linux, I don't know. You should be able to use that. Okay. So if you basically go onto Google Storage and you basically attach that to the machine itself, so the VM instance, you'll upgrade the disk. You're not going to add Google Storage as a bucket. You're going to basically put the storage of the disk itself. Okay. Oh, Mike, I don't think we do have any specific disk recommendations for the input-output rate for that. I'm not even sure we do have such a calculation for that. Listen, as long as you can write 1 megabyte per minute per extension, if you're recording 500 extensions at the same time, it should be able to basically handle 500 megabytes per second. Oh, Mike, you're going to put recordings onto an NVMe or SSD. Man, I'd like to have your budget, mate. Eduardo, not that I know of. I don't really know any FTP servers for recommendation. Okay. Right. So again, the URL, this is where you can find all the information. We are covering the intermediate today, tomorrow, and the day after. Right. So let's go and do our final demonstration for today. Now, for this demonstration, I'm going to be using my web client. Okay. This is my extension of Julia. Now, Julia will be receiving a call from Mr. Hamilton Hume. Okay, so I'm going to be using this. Now, Julia's recordings, she doesn't have any. Now, in the web client, the recordings are accessible if you have your extension. Okay, so where is the local disk extensions? Julia is 107. Phone provisioning, 3CX app. Show call recordings. Okay, so if you go into a web client and you can't see recordings, just enable that under the provisioning of the 3CX app. And you can allow them to delete them if they want to as well. Okay, Evangelos, just to show you the multiple edit, just select multiple extensions, click on edit. I'm editing all 3 at once. Okay, or you can do them all, edit, and that will edit them all at once. Okay, all 73 of them. Okay, so oops, let me just get that camera off for you so it's a bit bigger. Yuri, yes, you can. All you need to do is just basically disable that that I showed you there. So that option, they can't see recordings by default, but you can show them if you need to as well. Jody, I probably will recommend that to our guys there for the emojis. Maurice, the call recording is done at the extension level. So as soon as an extension picks up, the recording is done not just through the inbound. It's not an inbound rule thing. It's not a SIP trunk thing. It's an extension thing. Okay, so as soon as you pick up, if your extension has recordings enabled, it will do the recording. Okay, so it's done at the extension level. Right. So I'm going to do extension 107. Now, Julia, by default, Julia is active, right? Yep, she is. Why is she not active? Why is she? Julia, what are you doing? Let me see if I can actually call her. Why is Julia not active? Sorry, just give me a second. I will need to probably install the 3.6 extension again. Something messed up. Let me just remove that and redo it. Something done messed up there. All right, there we go. To your web client, okay, and activate for Julia. There we go. Okay, she's active now. Rightio, so let's go to recordings. Fantastic, she's got no recordings there. Now, Julia's default configuration is under options. Okay, now I'm using an enterprise license, so I can disable and enable that. Now the default is off, and she's allowed to start and stop the recordings. So I'm going to call Julia now. Okay, now talking. You can see the recording is off, but she's allowed to start and stop the recording. She can start the recording. It is now recording. It's paused, starting again, finish the call. And we should be able to see the recording once we do a refresh. There it is. Okay, according. It's doing the transcription as well. Okay, now that is the default. Now I'm going to go and prevent her from starting the recording. Okay, so let's give her a call again. Okay, we can see that it's grayed out. She cannot start the recording. Okay, let's go again to our extension. Let's go and see what happens when we turn the recordings on. We turn the recordings on for all the calls because it is an internal call. Okay, and she's not allowed to turn off the recording. So let's call her again. So now she's forced to record. 107. Oops. 107. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the recording is on and she cannot stop it. And the final configuration of that, options, let's basically allow her to stop the recording. So 107, the recording is on, but she can stop it. And she can start it again. And she can stop it like that. Okay, so basically now Julia has 3 recordings. Okay, and the transcription is on as well. She can download and play. Okay, and I can also press on play and she can listen to it. Okay, and once she listens to it, it basically stops and hangs up. Okie dokie, so that is so let's go to our recordings now on the PBX. We can see that we have 3 new recordings now. Okay. Okay, thumbs up. Okay, look at that. Yep, troubleshooting bonus. Yep. I think recording work in active mode. All RTP flows through the PSO can record. So basically, why would you need to do that? Basically, if you will listen to, if the other software can actually get that audio stream, yeah, you would be able to. But the PBX should do the recording because it will put into the reports as well, and then just copy it over. Aha. Lynn, yes, you can give anyone access. We do have one of the options that we will see tomorrow. Actually, no, on Thursday. With the extension rights, that you can see the recording in your group. Okay, but by default, yes, you can give the person themselves, but you can see group recordings for supervisors as well. Okay, Now, we have these recordings which are not archived. My location is on my C drive, okay? I can enable my remote archiving. I can select an FTP, my Google Drive, my SMB, secure FTP, and Google Storage. Now, we are deprecating Google Drive, so if it is an existing attachment, it's okay, still there for now, but Google Storage is the way to go. All you need to do is basically just do your JSON type file. Let me just go and find that where I've put it. There it is. Okay, and connect. So now this will connect to my directory. I do have that under my bucket. Okay, so I have created my Google account, MP training bucket. Okay, I've got my backups and my recordings. I do have Julia's recordings here. So Julia, I can actually delete those. Okay, so there's no recordings in Julia's drive now. And I will go and go into recordings. Okay, so I am connected to my Google bucket now. I can do this daily at midnight. Okay, but I will go and select these now and I can archive them. Before I do, let's go and have a look and see the quota. We can see that my auto cleaning is now disabled because I have the automatic archiving. I can change my quota to 1 gigabyte. I've got 6.5 megabytes in use. Send an email and compress if I need to. Okay, so let me just go and archive that now. And that will archive the recordings. That will move them over to the other side. Okay, we can see that they're now archived. I can go to my bucket as well. And refreshing that should show me my recordings as well. Okay, so everything is there. And as an added bonus, look what happens now with Julia's web client. We can see that we can download and play these on the phone as well. Once I archive them, I can't play them because they're not on the PBX anymore, but I can download them and play them if I need to. Okay, so that's why we have the recording history, so we can actually reference the file which is now on the archive file. Okay. Alrighty then. So, as Porky Pig says, that's all, folks. Okay, so that's all we have for you today. We have finished our 3 modules, bang on the dot for the 2 hours. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask. Jody, yes, I do. I don't really have anywhere to be. I'm just going to go further down the hall. About the dial-out codes. Hang on. So wait, hang on. So Sebastian, tomorrow we're doing remote extensions and hot desking. Okay, so stun, SBC, and hot desking tomorrow. Jody, just give me a second. I asked about. I'm just going to scroll up a bit there to allow the extension to view recordings. James, just give me 1 second. I'll show you right now. Jody, just give me a second because James's question is a bit more on topic. So let's go to the extension itself. Okay. Go into the extension, phone provisioning, 3CX app. Not on the IP phone, on the 3CX app. Further down, access, show recordings. Okay. And allow deletion if you want them to be able to delete as well. Julia does have the access to delete. I can very easily just remove that right for her, and she will not be able to delete the recordings. Okay, just call the person back and listen to it. Alrighty. Thanks, Stefan. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Let me just do a bit of catch up here. Part of the previous ones about beginner. Booker, yes, you can see them. www.3cx.com/3cx Academy. Okay, so everything is on there. Okay, let me just show you as well where you can actually see the recordings as well. It won't be the webinar. My goodness, if that was online. So on our website, Learn 3CX Academy, Basic, and you have each of the modules, okay, using the web client, for example. This is the slides, and over here you'll see the pre-recorded webinar right there. So opening that up will take you to YouTube where you will hear my voice, okay? So there it is. That's the YouTube video as well, and that's the YouTube channel of 3CX as well. Okay, so let's... Oh, Jody, tough luck. Well, listen, you're going to have to wait the month and then you'll need to reset it. By that time, I will give you... I did give you the tip. Did I give you the tips and tricks last week about the certification? No, I didn't. I did not give you the tips and tricks. Oh, why didn't I do that? Oh, okay. Oh, guys, listen. When you're sitting the exam, okay? Certification. We say read the training material. It's an open book exam, guys. You don't need to memorize stuff, okay? All you need to do is open up the 3CX Academy like we have previously done, okay? If you want to do the basic or the intermediate, open up the modules. You are allowed to reference the material. We don't want you memorizing stuff. We want you learning stuff, okay? Real world scenarios. In the real world, if you need something, you're going to Google it, okay? That's what we want you to do. Now, when you go to sit the exam, it is 25 questions, pass out of 30, true, false, yes, no, multiple choice, okay? Now, there is no time limit. You can take your time to do as many references as you need. If you want to sit it with a colleague of yours, you can do so as well. We're not going to prevent you from doing so. In the real world, you reference your colleagues for assistance. Now, taking the test. Make sure your name is written correctly. We will not correct this later afterwards. Start the certification. Okay? Start the test. Read the question slowly. First of all, where are you going to go find the answers? In the configuration of the firewall module. So you basically go, open up the firewall configuration, and find your answer in there. Okay? We actually tell you which module it references. When remote, the 3CX app only needs to have the tunnel UDP TCP 5090 and HTTPS default 5001 ports forwarded NATed on your firewall to provision and operate correctly. Now, going to this module, let's go and have a look and see what it says for the 3CX apps. You find the 3CX apps. What ports do you need? The answer is right there. Okay? You don't even need to study. You just follow the slides. Javier, no. You have to wait for the 30. We have made it deliberately a long waiting period as a cool down to make people go and learn the PBX, okay? Don't memorize stuff. Just learn your material, have it with you, and you should be okay. Okay? I do apologize. I thought I'd actually said that. I don't know why. I usually always do say that at the end of the, on the last day of the basic, intermediate, and advanced. I do apologize for that. I should have actually, I don't know why. Well, listen, Jody, that is a good thing, okay? But listen, you're not cheating, okay? It is an open book exam, and it is basic. Our aim is for you guys to learn the product. Learning the product, you're watching the webinar, so it is a study guide we're doing basically. And having the material open is the way you work in the real world. That's the way we want you guys to work. Thinking on the fly, okay? Jody, I don't usually do that, but I will allow you that one question. I will give you that one. Okay. Right. Now, if it is something for technical support, I will bump you off to technical support. Now, right, for your question now about the now, what is the problem that you have for this, guys? We have finished. I'm just giving a bit of assistance to Jody for something I explained last week for her. But thank you very much for your time. I do hope you have a good night and see you tomorrow. So Jody, let's go and have a look and see that now. What have you actually done for that? I did configure that last week with my outbound rule. Sorry, wrong PBX. Outbound rules. Star 999. Okay. That's the one which we had configured. We'll basically go and then dial 155 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So if I go and do with Julia's extension now, star 999 or 99, sorry. Oh shit. Okay. That basically converts it to that. That's basically what you want, isn't it? Dave, that is right. Listen, we're realists. We're realists. We're not going to expect people to memorize stuff and then go and forget it the day after. Okay. Evangelos, of course you can. As long as I'm not going anywhere, you can stay as well. I think we're all quarantined at home, so. Jody, basically that's what we do. Just make sure it doesn't clash with anything, and you're not going to do anything with the caller ID. Okay, it's nothing to do with the caller ID. The quick access dial codes that you want to do, you're going to do them. Just make sure that they don't clash with anything in the dial codes. Okay, just do them in your outbound rules. Strip the 3 digits that you are sending out, and just change the number. I've just shown you. I don't know what the problem is for that one though. Will we cover outbound and inbound and truck? Safer, we've already done that in the SIP trunks. The SIP trunks was last week on, if I'm not mistaken, on Thursday. Pre-recorded webinars are not accessible. Oh. Asif, where are you connecting from? Yes, I'm yeah, Asif, where are you from? Where are you from? Because are you connecting from Iran? Pakistan. Well, you should be able to access that. Because I know that people from Iran have a problem because of the Google restrictions, but I've actually clicked on that link that you put in and it actually opened it up. Hang on, it removes the first 3, so, and then combines with what I was dialing out with the first number I entered in the last field. That is. Hang on, Jody. Hang on. I don't think I've really understood what the. So basically, it's two digit dial codes. Give me a second. Let me just read that again. So, star 87, NNN, NNN, NNN. So that's the 9. That's the 9 digits there. Okay, 9 or 10, whatever. It tells us to change the caller ID to. Okay, you got 7 no, okay, yeah. No, we don't really do the modification of the caller ID. That's coming in a future service pack. Okay, we can use the outbound rules to modify your caller ID. We only do that for 911 calls. Okay, The modification of the outbound caller ID is coming in a future service pack though, okay? I just thought, because you basically asked me to make a quick dial, I thought it was just, because a lot of people use from older systems, they used to having speed dials, *87 dials this number. Okay, so you wanted to do it so it triggers a particular outbound rule. No, that's not going to be possible now. I think I misunderstood because I just went, my mind when I saw the 2-digit numbers with the star was to go to the speed dials. Okay, you need to be a bit patient for that one, and that's coming. All right. Right. Guys, I would like to thank you for your time. I would like to thank even those of you who have stayed a bit extra. Thank you very much for your time. We'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing remote extensions and hot desks.